yeah, there's just so many like really interesting
Yeah.
features or items that they could build. The raptor chase at the end through not through the tall grass, stay out of the tall grass, but
Uh,
through the
I think that would be
but that
cool too. Yeah, like you could just have it so like you could just see their tail and like their little head like peeking out. Like, boop. That's one of my favorite scenes in Jurassic World is when they like shoot the Indominus
yeah.
and like Owen Grady's yelling at the Raptors and one of them just peeks his head out of the grass. He's like, "Hello." I don't know why it makes reminds me of my dog. She's always like,
Yeah.
"What? I'm not doing
It's a
anything wrong. Don't mind me. Just ate
great
this dude." Hello, bricks, chicks, and minifigures. You are listening to AFOLs Welcome, where we talk about all things Lego from the perspective of two adult collectors. We are your co-host. I'm Grinch,
I'm West.
and today we're going to be talking all about Lego Jurassic Park, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So just to level set everybody up front, we are not talking about Jurassic World today, just Jurassic Park. There's two pretty distinct trilogies here, so we just wanted to break them up so that we could have a more detailed conversation on both of them. I mean, they really are. I mean, the trilogies are what, like 20 years apart, so they're almost 30 years apart. So like they're very different, IPs at this point. So we wanted to focus on just Jurassic Park today. But before we get the conversation started, I know that West had a PSA for us.
Yeah, thank you, Grinch. I just wanted to let everybody know and let everyone know that we appreciate your patience. We both had just some very busy weeks over the last few weeks. We had to skip recording last week because our lives just kind of got the better of us. Grinch, you're still moving and working through that and traveling and working still, and I'm still trying to get packed and for our upcoming move, and so which includes finally getting the Legos pretty much all the way packed up. So it's just been a lot, and we appreciate kind of the patience and flexibility as we continue to get through this. So, but we're back, and we're excited to bring to our fans or listeners, maybe. I don't know if we can quite call them fans yet, but another episode. So I'm excited to get after it. Let's go.
Yeah, I was getting a text from one of our fans the other day, and turned out it was just our mother. But shout out to you. No, but thanks to everybody who listens. Thanks for staying with us. Let's move over to some exciting Lego news. Exciting Lego news.
Yep.
So I think we're gonna probably talk about the first non-Lego news topic on this podcast so far. But it's just appropriate due to the recency of the announcement and the recency of this episode. Is that Gareth Edwards was just named director of the upcoming new Jurassic World, or I think I've seen some names float around like Jurassic City, which I'm not excited about that one. But the new Jurassic series or trilogy that'll be starting next year. I'm really excited for Gareth Edwards to kind of lead the horn on that one because he's probably produced the best Star Wars movie in the past 10 years since Disney bought him. He's also done some really good stuff recently with The Creator. And I don't know if it's a hot topic. I think it's maybe more, a bit of a polarizing topic, but I think he did a really good job with Godzilla. I know some people's complaint were Godzilla was only in it for like 10 minutes, but I think personally I prefer when directors kind of, take that kind of stance on something of like the whole point was that you wanted it to be special when Godzilla was on the screen. And I think that's kind of, he's going to treat the dinosaurs appropriately. It's not just going to be like, hey, look at this one dinosaur and look at this one's even bigger and cooler, and then this one's even bigger and cooler. I think he'll really put some director kind of stylistic approach behind how he kind of introduces them on the big screen and uses them in a way that's more meaningful than just like roar. I don't know. What do you think about that, Wes?
Gareth Edwards is known for his monster movies, and so that is definitely a strength of his. So to see him be put in that position to direct the new Jurassic Park movies is really exciting. Because you're right, there could be some really unique stuff that he does there. Definitely bringing some of the fear and tension probably back into the dinosaur scenes rather than kind of what the Jurassic World franchise gave us, which was ironically bloated and over the top, much like the commentary that they were trying to sort of push in the first movie. The Jurassic World movies fell to that ultimately themselves. So that was kind of interesting. But anyways, it'll be really exciting, and it'll be more Lego Jurassic World sets potentially. So
Woohoo.
that'll be awesome.
So, Wes, why don't we take this conversation back to Legos,
Okay.
or Lego? Sorry, everybody in the comment, I said Legos. Um, and why don't you kind of go over some of the news from this past 2 weeks?
Yeah, wonderful. So some exciting news from the last couple of weeks. There were some Lego City animals that just got leaked. The red panda, gorilla, but we also know about the re-release of the tigers and alligators from this summer. So that's really exciting. The panda and gorilla being, I believe, new molds
And
completely.
and there's a baby gorilla too that just fits on
Yeah,
his little back. Yeah.
so that'll be really fun to see. I think this city wave, we've talked about it in the past, is really shaping up to be really fun this year. So I'm excited to see that. We got some news about some Lego Icons space leaks. So Lego's really been doubling down with space this year. We had a whole new city wave for space, which was kind of interesting, and then they released a whole Technic wave that was actually like co-branded with the Lego City Space Wave, which was kind of interesting because it's rare that we have a Technic wave and a regular system wave that are within the same category like this
Or
with
succinct with one another.
yeah, so much crossover. I mean, every once in a while you'll get a little bit, but like this is a lot.
Honestly, I think the last time they did it was like back in the day, Star Wars. I mean, outside of cars, right? Like, I feel like they have like the supercar that they come out with every year, and then like the Speed Champion version, or like a
Yeah,
polybag and system. But that's not, yeah,
yeah, it's not like they all come out under the Speed Champions logo,
right,
right? They
right.
just all come out under the space logo. So there's clearly like a sub theme or sub branding going on that both of these themes are sharing, which is kind of interesting. But the cool things that we got are the buildable Milky Way galaxy. It's going to be, I believe, part of like the art print, which will
Hmm.
be kind of fun. More of that, I believe, probably more of that three-dimensional set, like we saw with the Spider-Man and um, like the Rolling Stones set, and then Artemis 1. So for those of you who don't know, Artemis 1 is the large vertical lift rocket, the one that's made up of, it basically is the Atlas 5 rocket or the Saturn 5 rocket from back in the day with the two shuttle boosters on the sides, and that's supposed to get astronauts to the moon here in the next few years. So that's really exciting to see that being released. It's been a while since they've released a big spaceship like that. That wasn't part of the Icons theme or Lego Ideas theme. So yeah, let's go. Let's take a look. It'll be really fun. And then let's see, Grinch. Did you have any other ones you wanted to touch on?
No, but I got interrupted by this cute kitty.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we had the Lego Dreams wave was announced. I'm not like a huge fan of Dreams. Just doesn't resonate with me. I mean, I like weird themes. I like kind of out there themes, but it might be a little too much for me. I don't know. I just don't really care about it, to be honest.
I think it'll be interesting to see it in a few years if it gets its feet underneath it. I would imagine it's going to change a little bit, but we'll see.
I do appreciate that it's different. Like, I feel like my issue with Monkey Kid is like,
It just feels
somebody's gonna
Ninjago.
flame me in the comments, but and I know, like, okay, Monkey Kid's more of like kind of Chinese based, if anything, and Ninjago's obviously more Japanese based, but like it just feels like they're trying to repeat Ninjago with
Yeah.
the Monkey Kid figure. Some of the sets are really cool. I've never bought them. But then the last one we got is the Technic Mercedes 4x4, which
Nice.
is an awesome car. Even I know about that car. As you know from last episode, I'm not like the biggest car fan, but um, that's just a really cool vehicle. I wish we were getting like a Speed Champion of that. I know last week we talked about like what would we want in Speed Champions, and a 4x4 would be cool.
Yeah. I did have to follow that up. You asked a great question, which was if there's any car that has not been turned into a speed champion, what would you like? And I think my answer would be a Jaguar E-Type. So it's a very curvy car for someone who doesn't know. It's a car from the 60s. They are iconic vehicles. They look amazing. And yeah, Jaguar E-Type would be my pick. It'd be very difficult to make out of Lego at that scale.
Well,
But anyways,
Lego's
let's
like, hold my beer, challenge accepted.
yeah, there we go.
All right, so let's move over to the main topic. Today's topic. So today we're talking all about Jurassic Park, specifically the trilogy of movies, Jurassic Park 1, The Lost World Jurassic Park, and then Jurassic Park 3. For me, I can't, and I think we need to do this one day. I think we need to do a Lego themed tier list. Maybe when we get through more of these themes, I think that would just be a fun discussion to kind of talk about all the themes. For me, though, spoiler alert for that video, this is a B or an A tier. I love it. It's near and dear to my heart. It's actually the first video on my YouTube channel that ever got over 100,000 views was a Jurassic or dinosaur type of video. So it's definitely been near and dear to my heart. I have every single dinosaur Lego's ever released, including the exclusive T-Rex. But as far as like giving it a ranking, I can't say it's S tier. I just can't. And I think it's borderline A tier, probably B tier, because the dinosaurs are really cool. But I just, the sets themselves, there's so much potential here that's not being used. And until they come out with like the Lost World RV, I have to leave it in B, I think. I just, there's so much here, there's so much potential, and it's just not being used. What about you?
No, I remember getting into these sets in their first kind of original form, which was the Lego Studio, and then those dinosaur lines that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And those were kind of released in time with the Jurassic Park 3 series or movie. And so that was really exciting, and it was exciting to get that movie. But I would agree, the sets are great. The IP is great, right? But I think that the source material, they leave a little bit to be desired. And as you mentioned, there's a lot there that has not been addressed and that could be. And so I'm excited to see the future of this, the potential here. I know we're going to get to it later in the episode, but there's so much, fun potential sets that could be made out of the Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic Park 3 movies. So,
Well, I think you mentioned the perfect transition here. So there's really two kind of eras of Jurassic Park, right? And we didn't actually get the modern Jurassic Park sets until way later. But the first time they ever came out with something, I don't want to say, I think they had a couple like random dinosaurs and like system here or there, but like all brick built. When we got the first dinosaur system, that was in 2000 with those buildable dinosaurs, and then later they continued that system when Jurassic Park 3 came out, and we got like the Spinosaurus set, we got the Velociraptor. Oh gosh, is it? I think I was gonna say Escape, but that's what they do. I think it's Raptor Rumble. That's right. They have the Raptor Rumble set, and like those raptors just look comical, like absolutely like ridiculous. I mean, they've got like these smiles on their faces, and they're just like, they're pretty hysterical. So those though were officially licensed Jurassic Park 3 sets, but they were not. It wasn't a Jurassic Park wave or anything like that. They were under the studio lines, which is, going back to the early 2000s. This was Lego's kind of one of their original forays into licensed themes. They had just started coming out with Star Wars sets. As far before this, really all they did as far as licensing went was like, hey, we've got Shell, right, as a license in our Lego Town line. We've got random maybe car brands here or there, but we don't really have a licensed theme. So at the time, I believe they had Star Wars and Harry Potter, and then they had the Studios line. And the idea behind the studio line was like, hey, let's do these movie type themes. And of course they were trying to bring play into it. So they had somebody with the camera and That whole idea was you filmed the movie, and they did it for this, and then I also think they did it for Spider-Man. So this was kind of that like other way that they started to get into licensed themes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know they had a studio theme that was like more urban focused. So there was like a back lot and like a film studio thing, and then there was the what is commonly connected to the second Jurassic Park movie, but the dinosaur T-Rex chase with the green dinosaur and the red car. Um, Again, it's hard to not see the similarities between that and the Jurassic World movie, but or Jurassic Park,
Lost World.
The Lost World. So
Yeah, it's literally called the Steven Spielberg Movie Maker set, and it comes with a T-Rex and a city backdrop, and it's chasing after a red Corvette convertible looking. It's not licensed, but an unofficial red Corvette there.
what's what's cool about it, right, was that I think Lego was really trying to hone in on their fan base. This was kind of the time where Lego stop motion was really starting to take off amongst kind of the larger AFOL community. So like the early 2000s, and stop motion isn't really overly technical project, doesn't require like excessive animation, but the impact of this, right, is that while the Lego movie itself felt was clearly animated, the motion of the figures was done in such a way that it looked like it was stop motion. And
Mm-hmm.
so the animation style of those Lego movies, and I think some of it probably was done in stop motion, I would imagine, with animation around it, but like that paid homage to the stop motion movies that were being made by adult creators back in the 2000s. There's a great documentary on HBO, or at least it used to be on HBO, about the history of the Lego community, and was talked about some of that stop motion movie making that was being
Mm-hmm.
done. And yeah, it's weird to kind of comment on this set and say this set is a lot bigger than I think we take for granted and appreciate, but it really, in terms of its impact on the Lego community, there's a lot more here to talk about. So maybe a topic for another episode.
I think we'll have to talk about studios as a whole because there's actually quite a lot there.
Hmm.
There was actually and I think you'd like this because I know you liked Hidden Side. There was actually a studio like Monsters theme, which is commonly
Hmm.
forgot about. But it was, if you think of like what Universal has been trying to do for years and get their MonsterVerse set up. I mean, this was
Hmm.
like kind of pre that. I mean, it was definitely pre that, but it's kind of like this notion of like, hey, let's create like monster movies out of Lego. And so they had like a werewolf, a vampire. I mean, really cool stuff. Actually, it's really cool stuff. But yeah, you're exactly right. It was kind of like Lego, like, hey guys, we know you like to do the stop motion stuff. It was, I'm trying to put myself back in like early 2000s time frame too, because like, the iPod's yet to be invented for another couple years at this point. But like, this was back in the day when like digital cameras were first starting to come out,
Yeah.
and be accessible to people. Cell phones were just starting to come out and be accessible to people more so than the briefcase phone from the 80s. But like this was when companies started to try to put technology into their toys, right? Or just kind of integrate it with everything. It was really the big technology boom. So
Yeah.
definitely an interesting time, right?
Yeah. Mindstorms had just started coming out, which
Mm-hmm.
was big. So yeah, Lego, like you said, was getting a lot more technical at the time. So.
Yeah, so we had two Jurassic Park sets here, though. That third one, the Steven Spielberg movie, is not even licensed for Jurassic Park at
Hmm.
all. These ones at least were sub-branded with Jurassic Park 3. Between the two, there's the Raptor Rumble, and then there's the Spinosaurus Attack. Um, I actually really like the Spinosaurus Attack set. I'd love them to remake. I'd even like them to remake the Raptor Rumble today. The Raptors are just ridiculous. Like they're brick built Raptors, and then they had like this molded head. And I mentioned kind of the stupid smile that they have, but then I think the worst part is there's a Pteranodon that comes in this set, and then
And it
the
has.
same head is reused. So it's just a bunch of smiling dinosaurs that are like, okay, are they attacking us or are they like trying to like laugh us to death here? Um, so the modern molds, for any issues that people have with them, are far and beyond better than this approach, in my opinion. I mean, even comparing what we'll get to here in the future, where we've had some other instances of brick built dinosaurs, I still prefer the molds. You just don't get that shaping, the face, facial structure, the character, can really be put into the mold. Whereas when you brick built it, you're really limited by the shapes you can get with the brick. It's a lot more difficult to get like really good expression. And I think most people would agree the hybrid approach is wrong. Even in
Yeah.
Jurassic Park movies, it's wrong. But stick with the dinosaurs were already cool. We don't need to make hybrids. But yeah, they just look ridiculous when you've got like this kind of half molded head and
Yeah.
bricked body.
Agreed.
But the Spinosaurus attack set I wanted to mention too is very collectible. The Spinosaurus itself is one of the more expensive animals. At the time, the printing, this might have been the best printed piece of up until I don't know, it might be of all time. I really don't know anything that rivals the detail that's in this piece. I mean, if you look at the actual tail of the Spinosaurus, first of all, there's little ridges, every centimeter on it to give it that spined look, and there's printing all throughout it. And then there's like 4 or 5 layers of actual printing on that spine on both sides. Number one, it goes right up to the ridges, and I think it's even printed over the ridge, right? And the reason I say that is because Lego's traditionally said it's really hard to print on like Lego minifigure legs, down below because of the ridge. But like they did it back then. They did it, and then the leg is really good. I mean, the printing on this thing is absolutely phenomenal. So good, in fact, that I will overlay a picture onto this conversation. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see it for sure. And maybe, Wes, you can post it on our Instagram.
Absolutely. I think as I recall, it was in dark gray, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The dinosaur itself.
Yep.
So it was in the older dark gray, which had kind of more of a browner tint compared to the dark bluish gray.
Correct.
That we see now. And it definitely was a really cool looking dinosaur. It was the same body that was used in like T-Rex set, and you could turn the T-Rex set into a Spinosaurus. But it definitely just was like a whole another, like, it was really cool to essentially get 2 of those set like dinosaurs built,
Mm-hmm.
Side by side with that type of printing, and definitely made it, instantly more collectible.
And they printed on the head too, which back then they weren't doing that. Like they didn't even print eyes on them, or even this one. So the fact that they took that same pattern and printed it on the head was really cool too. But you're right, it uses that same body from the earlier dinosaurs that came out, I think just a year before this. And that body was like a modular system, so you could put different arms, different legs on it. There was kind of 4 areas to put limbs on, and then you could attach a head and a tail, and then they used that system for all sorts of dinosaurs.
I loved that the arms for those were still the dragon arms from yesteryear, like the green dragons that came out.
And
like
even that original T-Rex that the same arms for that too.
Yeah. It just cracks me up that's like, not that Lego thought that was okay, but just like how far they've come, compared to what we have today versus just almost 25 years ago.
Well, I think it's funny too because there's like little feathers coming off of it, which were like for like the dragon, like I guess they were supposed to be like little sub winglets or something. But it looks like he's wearing a t-shirt that's too big and he's got the sleeves rolled up, but they're just kind of dangling. But it was almost like inaccurate for the time, but like coming full circle, it could maybe be a little bit more accurate today because technically we know or we believe it changes every year, so nobody add us in the comments that dinosaurs had feathers and were more feather based. I mean, some of the like more recent images of T-Rex I've seen had like little feathery arms. So I don't know. It's kind of maybe Lego was way ahead of the curve on this one.
Yeah, yeah. We'll give a point to Lego there
Yeah.
for looking forward.
But I mean, there was no named characters in either of these sets. I mean, it was actually Johnny Thunder was in the first the Raptor Rumble set, and then I forget the female character's name from that, but she was in there. I mean, it's supposed to be Paul and Amanda Kirby technically, right? But it wasn't. It was they didn't even have licensed characters. And then in the Spinosaurus attack set, I think another really cool feature was they had the regular stunt pilot guy. They didn't have any of the pilots. But then another cool feature was the plane split in half, so you could recreate that scene where the Spinosaurus, the plane gets, trapped in it or hits the Spinosaurus, lands in the tree, and then splits apart.
Yeah.
So let's move on here to the kind of official, full theme here of Jurassic Park. There are 8 total sets that have released between 2023 and 2018. That's right. It took us 25 years to get a official Jurassic Park Lego set, one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. It took us 25 years to get one of the sets. And West, what are your initial thoughts here on the modern day Jurassic Park theme?
Well, I mean, my initial thoughts, I guess, are twofold. One, it took long enough. That
I would
the
have
movie,
preferred another 25 years, to be honest.
right? Yeah. No, those movies have been just. I mean, even before Jurassic World came out, what in 2014?
15.
Yeah, yeah, it was spring of 15, wasn't it? Um, the Jurassic Park is still considered, I mean, one of the greatest movies ever made in terms of just practical effects, um, tension building. It's based off of Michael Crichton's books. If you haven't read them, for our listeners, they're very much worth a read. They do diverge from the stories a little bit, but Michael Crichton wrote both the Jurassic Park and uh, Jurassic Park Lost World.
They actually
And so,
deviated so much from the second one that he didn't want to do the. He was like, they were like, "Ah, you want to come do the third one with us?" And he was like, "No,
yeah,
you guys suck."
yeah, it's definitely a little different, but it's there's some really adult themes in the movie in terms of like uh, business ethics, bioethics. There's a lot going on in those movies. Just rewatching them again, listening to like the conversations the lawyer has with the audiences, and it's fascinating. It's kind of a lot of fun and definitely worth a rewatch. So point is that these movies are part of our cultural touchstone, right? And like we're one of the first times that we got like that visual representation of dinosaurs in what is arguably one of the more realistic, um, you know, portrayals of dinosaurs to date. So, again, don't add us in the comments. I know there's a lot of discrepancies. I don't need to, watch Mojo video of all the things that they've gotten wrong, but I got it. There's some differences. But anyways, the point is that they're just big, right? And so it did surprise me it took so long. The second point I wanted to make was that, why did it take until last year for us to get a Jeep Wrangler? Like that set has been recreated so many times by people. I'm glad Lego finally did it. It looks wonderful. I still need to go pick one up myself.
Tisk tisk.
Um,
Tisk tisk.
I know.
It's actually getting ready to retire, so better get
Yeah,
on
I
it.
need to, I need to do that. But just such an iconic vehicle to make in Lego. It surprised me. It took as long as it did. But what do you think, Grinch?
Am I surprised that they didn't come out with something until they had a new Jurassic Park movie? No. I mean, look at like when they missed the opportunity here to come out with these sets when the movies were originally released, right? When
Right.
Jurassic Park 3 was released, they did release 2 sets. That movie was not received well. Those sets did not sell well. Shoot, I picked up the Spinosaurus set brand new for like $80 last year, and that set was 20 years old. Or not last year. This was 2000. 2018 or 2020-ish. I picked up that set like brand new in box. It's now worth quite a bit more as more
Yeah.
Jurassic Park sets have come out, more Jurassic World sets have come out. Like I think there's more kind of weight behind the theme now, but like it just sat at like retail for the longest time. I think it was more expensive to buy the Spinosaurus than the set, which is like one of those weird Lego things where like that's how much people did not care about the set. Was like, well, I don't want to waste my time even buying that. So for the longest time, the Spinosaurus itself was more expensive than the set. So when I bought this,
Mm-hmm.
when I wanted the Spinosaurus, being a savvy Lego purchaser trying to save some money, I was like, well, let me go look at what the set cost so I can get one brand new in box. And it was, at the time, it was cheaper than the Spinosaurus itself. And I was like, just one of those pro tips for like if you're ever looking for like a minifigure in a poly bag on Bricklink, don't just look at the minifigure entry. Go look at the polybag entry, because you've got a bunch of people and like, the minifigure entry is the one people look at. So sometimes those polybag entries will sit there for a little bit, even though it's sealed in box technically. But that just tells you like how much people didn't like that set. So I'm not surprised, right? Because like even with Harry Potter, right, it took until Fantastic Beasts to come out that they relaunched Harry Potter, and then all of a sudden there was two Fantastic Beasts sets, and now there's still Harry Potter sets to this day. So Lego has learned that like, okay, we gotta make sure that culturally it's the right. We can't force kind of pop culture. Pop culture has to be there, and we have to kind of match it, right? We have to be willing to produce these sets when it's popular.
Yeah, build off the momentum. So
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. If they would have released this in like 2006, they would have been like, "Why are you doing this right now?"
Well, and even look at like they did was it 2008? They did the dinosaur attack sets, the Dino 2010. They didn't
I
do
think
well.
the thing about this series is that now that they have built, just like with Harry Potter, right? Like Fantastic Beasts sizzled out because it was bad. Let's be frank. But they're still making Harry Potter sets because now that they've created the momentum in the theme, it's self-sustaining. And I think that's where like all of the Jurassic Park stuff is right now. It's a very self-sustaining theme. I'm curious, have they announced anything for this year yet?
They've released two sets. They had like this like baby dinosaur battle pack. It's under Jurassic World though,
Okay.
where they had a bunch of baby dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, they included Camp Cretaceous characters in it, which love the show, but it just was kind of a weird. It's just a weird. It's like a 4+ set. It's weird. It's kind of. I'm not sure why. And then they had that really cool T-Rex skull set, like with the UCS kind of plaque. That's right. Those are already out, and I believe I've seen rumors of a few more sets coming out this summer, but I haven't seen much on that front otherwise.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes now that they're kind of in a evergreen territory like Harry Potter is. So, anyways, to that point, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. So
let's talk about the sets. A lot of good sets here. I remember the first one that ever released was 2018. It was the Jurassic Park Velociraptor chase. It is a kind of interior, vignette, if you would, of the a visitor center from Jurassic Park. They've got the kind of main computer mainframe area where the Velociraptor's trying to actually break in. You can recreate the scene with the raptor looking through the window. There's the little play feature with the door locks to like lock the door. My favorite thing is that you've got the Tim minifigure's got a reversible face where he's freaking out, so you can always have like the Velociraptor trying to get in, and you have Tim standing there like ah, and it's a really lively scene. I think they did a good job. It's kind of triangular, so there's like it's like almost like if they took 3 triangles and then put them together to on the inverse of each other to kind of make a longer line of a scene. We've got kind of one triangle on the front, which is the cryo-freeze area. You've got the main triangle that's facing the builder or the display, where they've got the computer area. They've got that kind of office HQ area. And they've got another triangle that's kind of connected on the back of that, where they've got like the kitchen scene with the jello and all that. And really cool set. You got Dr. Grant, Ellie Sattler, you had, and then the 2 kids, and then a Velociraptor. But I think at the time I really liked it, and I think I would have said it was like one of the best sets in the series. But with the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary wave coming out, I think it's fallen a little bit for me because we kind of got that same set, but in a lot more detail with the new visitor center that was released. So
Mhm.
it was one that was kind of like cool at first, but a little bit lacking in detail.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of it now just to kind of reference it. I remember seeing it at your place and really just like immediately getting like sucked into the set because you're right. Like there were, it's in this weird. You mentioned kind of triangles, and it is kind of triangles, but they're configured in this kind of strange configuration. So it almost looks like a little bit like an S, if you will.
Hmm.
And um, but it is fairly detailed. And for 2018, like I think it was really well detailed, and you can see, all of these different things going on, and it's got these great stickers, and um, you have the build out of the kitchen, and there's some Jello stacked up, and then yeah, the door locks, and sure, like is it like a little overly built up with Lego? Like yes, but that's Lego first off, and second, it just all of these iconic scenes just really stand out,
Hmm.
and so it just looks wonderful. I still have it sealed. I haven't opened mine. I as we I don't think it's really that expensive. I think we you have some figures later to look at, but I
It's doubled in value.
yeah, I'm not ready to open it up yet, and it's just for me it's such an iconic set. So I'm sure when I do, I'm gonna enjoy the crap out of building it because man, what a fun set and what a great scene from a movie to feature. So
So good transition point because you talked about the three scenes. The next set we got was the T-Rex Rampage scene, and I'll
oh,
get into that. Or T-Rex Rampage set. I'll get into that set in a moment. But if this is the one with the big gate and then the big kind of UCS T-Rex, and this set has really grown on me. But if you turn the gate around, there was I think 6 or 8 scenes from the movie there,
mm,
and for me, this Velociraptor chase set, though, the one we just talked about, hit a little bit differently when I was building those scenes because in this case, those scenes are the set. I mean, you build the kitchen, it attaches to the main headquarters or the main kind of mainframe computer area, and then you build that, and then you build the cryo area, and that attached. So, like, this set is the scenes. With this other
mhm,
one, the scenes are like a quarter of a bag of a 20-hour set build. So
mhm,
when you're sitting there kind of reminiscing, thinking about the scene, it's a lot more of like the detailed scene builds in the Velociraptor chase, which I appreciate. You're kind of really building those scenes out more, giving more of the build and more of the part budget to that scene versus you're just kind of building the gate and then you're like, oh, here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, which is cool. It's just it feels a little bit bigger, a little
yeah.
bit better when you're actually building up this thing of all the scenes.
I thought the gate though, just I know there's one scene that you really want to mention, but I think just some of the clever parts usage in I'll put it that way in the gate set was really fun, and just the scenes that they did build were really cool to see, and so I think what a fantastic set. And that brick built Tyrannosaurus is just that thing is king of the jungle, and there's no question about it. And just wow, what a awesome build with the articulation and movement and
Mm-hmm.
any set. I love those sets with the tails that kind of just like very naturally like move, and so it does that in spades. The movements feel very solid but very mobile, and so
Mm-hmm.
it moves very easily, but at the same time, like it feels very secure. It just yeah, I don't know, it feels very polished. What a great set.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the set when it first came out, like right away. Of course, I was going to. It was awesome. I was disappointed because this is the area I don't like leaks. Is because I was told it was leaked that it was going to be a or a visitor center, and then when this came out, I was like, well, that's not a visitor center. What the heck? I wanted the visitor center. I wanted a UCS visitor center. Um, and then I kind of gave it some time, and I think where it really hit me was having it on display. And when you walk into like your Lego room and you see you got a modular over here, you got, Avengers Tower over here, and then you just got this big ass Tyrannosaurus Rex that's like the size of all of those things just chilling, and you're like, wow, that's cool. You immediately gravitate towards that. And then you're like, oh, that's the Jurassic Park visitor sign too. And then, it just really kind of like
Yeah.
shines. It really shines.
The gate is such an iconic part of the movie, right? They hold and they focus on it at the beginning of the movie, and then if I'm not mistaken, I think they go to it at the end too. As they,
Yeah, it like opens and then it closes as like
yeah,
the
and
movie
so
opens and the movie closes.
it is, and it's the story, right? Which is like the idea that like it's nature. Nature finds a way, and so you open, and it's a symbol of man's containment of nature, and then it closes on the humans, symbolizing them kind of being rejected from the environment,
Hmm.
and how that kind of has played out. So um, it is, I think. Well, we'll save it for the conversation for later, but yeah, maybe worth revisiting.
I
So,
apologize if there's any background noise. My cat's playing in a bag, of course, because what's more fun than a ripped up paper bag? But I think we have to mention a little bit of controversy here, or
sure.
controversy, with this set specifically. So if you didn't know, I don't know, I don't think we've ever talked about this, Wes, but there was a
What was
Lego
that?
idea submission, yeah, of a kind of UCS style T Rex and a giant gate. And the only difference between this set and that set, there is, I think it was a little bit smaller, but like not by much. I mean, I'm talking like just a little bit more smushed. It was just as, the scale was the same, and there was a
Yeah.
Jeep. That was or maybe it's a Ford Explorer. Sorry, that was the only difference between the two. Um, and it was one of those submissions that just got rejected because Lego. I mean, I'm not here to make a claim either way, but Lego. I mean, the company I work for takes us like 5 years to plan anything. So I promise you, Lego was ideating the set as is. Probably already had a prototype. I mean, there was a designer interview with some Lego Star Wars stuff from years ago that had a Imperial probe droid in the background. They had like this wall of sets that had been unreleased, and like over the next 10 years we got those sets. So like Lego really thinks about these stuff way ahead of time. But
Mm.
it was kind of a controversy at the time of like Lego copied them. Another set that came out at the same time or around the same time was the Lego Stranger Things house, which somebody claimed Lego copied from a designer who had it on display earlier that year at a convention. But again, spoiler alert, it takes Lego way longer than a year to create these sets. I mean, they've probably been working on that set for a few years at that point. So just wanted to mention that. I think that's more of a conversation for when we get into Lego ideas.
Yeah.
But of course, wanted to mention that kind of controversy.
No, and
Another,
I did want to just comment on that real quick, that I think it's important that I think Lego commented on it, and I'm sure we can dig up and find the comments because they did release kind of an official press.
I think they
Uh,
gave the designer like 5 free sets too, or something like that.
yeah, yeah, and so like they're a company, right? And Lego Ideas is a service that Lego provides. So like at the end of the day, is it fair for Lego to steal something from Ideas? I think that would be very much incorrect, and I think we're all in agreement there. But as you mentioned, like these sets take years to develop, and so the fact that like just because something came out around the same time, or
A
are
year
tangentially
beforehand, even.
related to each other doesn't necessarily mean that Lego isn't working on it too. And Lego in their ideas, terms, and conditions has always stated that like, hey, if we're working on something like this, then we're not gonna consider it. And so I think there's a little bit of the toxicity of the Lego internet
Yeah.
community coming out here, which was like making a big deal out of something that didn't need to be made a big deal out of. Good on Lego for coming out and just addressing it right away. Um, I think that actually speaks more to their corporate ethics than anything else. But yeah, like what, I don't know. I just talk about making a mountain out of a molehill. I think that's kind of what happened here.
we
So
we will never see this from like the public view, but like legally, it is really easy for Lego to prove that I mean, like you have internal meetings every day, right? And I'm sure there was some list of like, hey, we're working on this that probably came out in like 2014, or I'm just making up dates here, but like from a legal perspective, the public will never see this because it's pertains to if there were a lawsuit, let's just say it would pertain to the case, but like it would be very, very easy for Lego to like, it's on some presentation somewhere that Lego's like, hey, in 2018, 2019, we're going to work on this set. And that presentation probably happened in like 2015 when Jurassic World came out. I mean,
yeah,
it's very easy for them to prove that like, no, we were already thinking about this. And it even happens in comic books all the time where like back in the day when there was the big comic book war between DC and Marvel, like they literally was it Deadpool and Deadshot. They were released a month apart from each other in DC and in Marvel, and like stuff like this happens. I mean, people have the same. Sorry, Deadpool. Who's the DC equivalent? Whoever the DC equivalent for Deadpool is, Deadshot's a Marvel character. Is it Death Hook? Something like that. Maybe it's Deadshot. Anyways, they literally came out like a month apart. Like people come up with the same idea. All that there's 7 billion people in the world. Two people having the same idea is not far fetched.
no, not at all.
Especially when it's like around Lego, right?
There was a great example of this with the Lego bonsai tree, and the designer, not necessarily of them copying something, but the designer said that he used to just build them in the office for fun, and and people would ask for them. And then the Lego company was like, well, if you guys all like this set that this dude in the office is just making for fun, I bet adults would like
Yeah.
these sets too. And so then that's like how the botanical line started, was they basically were just like, wait, you guys like making plants out of Legos? Okay, let's do that for real. So like the point is, like, it could have been like a project on somebody's desk and he's just like a huge fan of Jurassic Park and he has it built or something, and they're like, oh yeah, that's great, let's work on that. And like you said, in like 4 or 5 years, like, table it, but let's iterate on this and turn this into something big. So yeah, anyways, the controversy there is I think way overblown, and I think Lego ultimately did the right thing. I mean, giving away what was essentially $1,000 of Lego. I believe it was 5 sets. We can verify
Yeah.
that later. But I know that they did compensate the individual
And
more
the
so
guy flat out came out and said, "Oh, when I saw it, I didn't even think they copied me."
yeah.
Like that was the guy's official statement. So again, like let the creator make the issue of the set, not don't speak for the person. Like, oh my god, Lego copied this guy, when the guy literally was like, no, they didn't. It's fine. Like,
Well, you know how Lego YouTube works.
I,
They're
I
responsible for at least 3 or 5 new Lego Star Wars sets just by themselves. So, yeah,
we
if
won't
it
name
weren't for that,
anybody. Yep.
we'd never get a 501st Battle Pack. So,
Apparently, right? They literally invented it.
yeah.
All right, so let's go back to Jurassic Park here before we get flamed in some comments. But before we start a controversy ourselves,
There we go.
the other controversy, and I don't want to call it a controversy because I think it's really cool, or issue with the set potentially that some people might have had, or just a cool aspect of the set, is that it did have these vignettes on the back of the gate, which I honestly don't really care because you never display the gate from that angle. So unless you have this in an area where it can be viewed from every angle, you kind
Yeah.
of forget about these little vignettes. I would prefer to have them just reduce the piece count and maybe make the set a little bit more accessible to people. But they're there. They're cool, for what they are. It's just they're a little bit hidden. Is the vignettes, right? And they had like the Barbasol can. They had a little there's a little egg kind of nest. And the one I want to talk about, though, there's the toilet scene, which is kind of gruesome in its own right, but also like, I mean, when we saw this movie as kids, like the one line that everybody repeated was, "Well, when you gotta go," right? I mean, that was like the line. And now I cringe every time I kind of hear it because I'm like, it's so stupid. it's it's a very famous line. But the power room, the generator room with Ray Arnold, when Ellie Sattler's down trying to turn on the power, and the arm falls on her shoulder and she grabs it and it's just an arm. They actually put a Lego arm with a piece of blood sticking through a fence, and it was like one of the first, if not the first, inclusion of blood in a Lego set. Period.
Yeah.
Pretty gruesome. They even used a translucent piece to like show like the translucent nature of blood. Right? It's it's a little bit messed up. I love it. I think it's cool. I mean, I'd love for Lego to have like a mature theme, especially because I'm an adult. But I know some people were like, "What? What the heck?" But look, if you're making a set that is about a movie and you include a scene from that movie, I don't think that's a controversy. That's just you doing the movie justice. Like, if you have an issue with
Yeah.
this Lego set, you also have to have an issue with the movie, even if
Literally,
this Lego set's geared towards kids.
dinosaurs eat people in this movie.
Correct.
So I think the inclusion of a half-eaten person in a scene that is incredibly iconic, it's probably one of the best jump scares in the movie, is I mean, yeah, like I think it's hilarious, and kudos for Lego for pushing the boundary there a little bit because it just you don't get that anywhere else, and I it just it still cracks me up because it's one of the Exoforce like arm
Mm-hmm.
pieces
It doesn't
with
even look like
the
a Lego arm.
right, like it's got like the clip hand and it's in like brown, like reddish
Right.
brown. And so it's hilarious in all kind of ways because it doesn't necessarily look like a human hand. I mean, they could have just included an arm, right? But they didn't. They used this brick built arm, which is funny. And then yeah, it's got this like piece of blood hanging off of it. And it just I mean, hey, like I said, kudos to Lego. Love it. More of that stuff. I think that's funny enough and isolated enough that you're not like overselling like violent themes, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's not like
So
if they ever come out with Lost World sets, like they come out with like one of the Mercedes and then like Eddie Carr and like two T Rexes and be like body splitting action. Like that would be a little messed up. But maybe they'll just come out with the Mercedes and him, and then that'll be its own set. And then they'll
yeah,
come out with like an RV without him and a T Rex.
there were some gruesome scenes in those
Yes, I
movies.
mean there's dinosaurs that like they literally eat people. So like, as long
Yeah,
as they don't come out with like a Lost World set in San Diego with the dog and a
I was
doghouse,
just
like no, no, no,
like,
no, no. There's no reason for that. Little jaw chain action. Like, no, 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 no. Where's my dog? I love you. Um, so we'll move on from those two sets. I do say like I would have put like the T Rex Rampage set as like a disappointment when it initially came out, and I am so glad I have it. I love that set now. And even since when I did my tier list on my YouTube channel a few years ago, like it's higher for me now than it was then. Um,
I love that journey for you because I've always thought it's a great set.
yeah.
So I think that is going to be an icon for a long, long time in the Lego kind of
Well, and
community.
it all stems from me being disappointed because I heard that it was going to be a visitor center, and I never got over that at first. So that's part of the reason I've always never liked to cover leaks on a Lego channel. And we typically on this, like when we talk about news, we might say like, "Hey, this was leaked," but it's more of an official announcement when we cover it. It's more of like, "Hey, we know we're getting this," and we don't really go into like what the set. We might speculate a little bit, but we don't try to be like, no, this is this, and we don't follow up with another video being like, and then we got more information about the visitor center because like, what if that's not true? So, um,
No,
but
fair
from
point.
this point, it took us 3 more years to get our next Jurassic Park set. For a while, these were the only two sets that were out, and that was the T Rex Breakout. Wes, what are your thoughts on the T Rex Breakout set?
I love it. I think it's great. We finally got the Ford Explorers in Lego, which was just so cool. Such an iconic vehicle for the franchise. For a franchise about dinosaurs, like there's definitely a lot of love and care put into the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure, in the book version, I believe they're Toyota Land Cruisers, not Ford Explorers, but I think Ford got the branding for it. Um, So there is a difference there in the source material, but the vehicles are so iconic. You know what I mean? And like
Hmm.
it's the Jeeps that I'm gonna talk about in a second here. But like there's one here in town that drives around and it's painted like a Jurassic Park Jeep. I haven't seen Explorers given the same love and attention, but yeah, they just are so cool. I will say I love that they're 6 wide, because I like it when Lego
I thought they're eight
uses
wide.
no, they're 6 wide. Um, I just put them away actually yesterday, so
Hmm.
I can speak with some, they're if you count the bumpers, they expand
Okay,
past 6,
they are.
but the
Yeah, they are past 6. Yeah, yeah.
is 6 wide. And so I really like it when Lego does that with 6 wide. There's some really great building techniques used to fit too many figures side by side in a 6 wide format. And so it looks fantastic. They're just a little too tall, so they're not quite proportionally correct. Explorers from that era were not huge vehicles, and so if there's any critiques, it's just they're a little oversized, but they look fantastic. So I can't get too upset over that. I liked the T Rex. I think the T Rex looks really good. It's a smaller version of the T Rex Rampage set. Um, I have seen other people critique and use the molded one instead in the set, and that looks pretty good. But I think it looks fine enough.
I
It's very
think part of the
posable.
reason I'm kind of glad they did the brick built because it just shows the value of the molded ones. Because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, these sets are overpriced," but like this is the example that I used in our conversation about value with Lego, where this set retailed for $100 at 12,000 pieces, or sorry, 1,200 pieces. Like great price to part ratio, but that brick built T Rex is probably 400 or 500 pieces. So if you got
Yeah.
rid of that and you replaced it with the 5 molded pieces, or I guess it's 6 or 7 molded pieces that come with one of the molded dinosaurs, all of a sudden you're at a price to part ratio of around 18 cents, 20 cents. And it doesn't look as good. And personally, I think the molded dinosaurs look better. I believe they did this brick built one because it was the specific scene where he's got his foot on the car, and you
Yep.
can't get the molded one's foot. So there's an argument there of like, well, the posability with brick built's way better than with molded. So,
And,
grass is
and
always
and
greener.
I think the brick build looks great. I think I've seen some changes that people have made to make them a little more aggressive looking. They've fixed the feet so they're not as easy to stick into the ground as
Mhm.
the ones are for the diorama. And I've seen some different changes on the eyes that I liked. But instead of the stickers, which was kind of a nice change, so like a brick built eye even on the T Rex. Uh, I just yeah, it's a cool set. I think it's a good one. It's definitely one of my favorites. I think it's a diorama that I'm gonna keep up for a long time. So,
I
how about you?
well, yeah, I think we were planning on talking about like maybe missing sets, and I'll just say
Yeah,
this now. I know we're getting a little long with the episode, but I'll just say this now. I think it would be really cool to have like one of these from each movie. Like this is probably the most iconic scene of this movie as far as scenes go, right? Not most iconic line, but like grand kind of like oh crap moment scenes. Is this, and then for Jurassic World, it could be like the RV hanging over the ledge. For or sorry, Jurassic Lost World. I think I said Jurassic World. For Jurassic World, it could be like I don't know, like the Mosasaurus, right, jumping out of the water and getting the shark in the Coliseum. Um, for Fallen Kingdom, it could be Lost Lockwood Escape with a Indoraptor on it, or like a volcano in the background. And then for Dominion, it could just be like I don't know, Dominion is Dominion, but it could be something cool with T Rex fighting a
go back.
Giganotosaurus. Just
No, I
don't
think
make Dominion. Just come out with the new Jurassic Park one.
yeah, I think there's a lot of great scenes that could be done here, right? So, and we'll chat on that later. But no, I agree. I think so much potential. You could literally take the T Rex. I mean, and the T Rex is the staple, right, of all of these movies. Rexy, I believe,
Buck.
canonically,
No, sorry, Buck is from the
um,
Lost World.
Rexy is the Rex from the first movie is in Jurassic World. if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
It's the
always
same.
get confused if it's the Rex from the first movie or if it's the Buck T-Rex from the second movie.
But anyways, we can neither here nor there. We can
Yeah.
explore that later. Someone can correct us in the comments. But
Somebody
anyways,
will correct us in the comments.
yeah. It's a wonderful, wonderful set. I think it's a great addition to the Jurassic Park catalog. But speaking of which, last year they released all of the anniversary sets. So Grinch, I know there's kind of a few sets here. There's not a ton of them, but why don't you
Uh,
give us some of the highlights of that and talk through some of the numbers too, or any other figures that are around this theme that are particularly stand out in your mind.
there's one set that is near and dear to my heart because, as I mentioned, the first video that I ever got over 100,000 views was the top 5 missing dinosaurs, and I made a big blunder in that video where I called it a brontosaurus because I was trying to be smart and I am not a dinosaur expert. And it was one of those times where like you're so sure of yourself in the moment that you don't even look it up. And so like ever since that video, I've always looked crap up to like make sure I'm right. However, I've not had a video do as well since that video, so maybe I need to, people
Just send it.
complain about stupid controversies, but like the reason they happen is because they get clicks. So maybe I need to make more controversies happen. But no,
Of course, not on purpose.
of course, of course, of course, of course. So there was the brontosaurus. Oh my god, I just did it. The brachiosaurus set, the brachiosaurus discovery. I said it was like the most missing dinosaur from the franchise because it's the first full scene dinosaur that you see. I know you see a tiny sliver of a velociraptor, which does not count in my book because like you don't actually see the velociraptor. In this case, you see the entire brontosaurus. This big reveal, and I was like, brachiosaurus. I just said brontosaurus again. You see the whole brachiosaurus, and it's just really cool. The giant kind of reveal of dinosaurs, and as like you're in awe seeing it, the characters are in awe seeing it. It's just a perfect scene. So that set was included. The brachiosaurus was a little bit of a letdown because you can't move its legs at all, which is like, why not? Like, just please somebody try to explain that to me rationally.
I was really bothered by the neck, and I still am. I think
The giant,
articulation,
the giant watermelon slice that's out of it.
they've done it in the past. They did it with the first dinosaur sets where the articulation was built into the body.
Yeah.
I don't know why that couldn't have been how they pursued this set versus cutting that huge chunk out of the neck. I get it, and I get that it allows it to move, and it's not perfect, but it really kind of is an odd.
Bothers you.
Yeah. If there's one big critique on that set, that's my critique.
And I agree.
But sorry.
I agree. No, I agree. I totally agree. The other set was the Visitor Center, which is a really good set too. That one, the price to me on that one felt a little bit off, but you do get a T-Rex, you do get a Velociraptor. It's just we've gotten so many T-Rexes, we've gotten so many Velociraptors. I wish the Velociraptor was exclusive to that set. It also came out in a 4+ set in this wave. I think that would have made it a little bit better for me. We got the Dilophosaurus ambush, which is kind of another gruesome scene. It's when Dennis Nedry gets eaten. And it's very horror-esque of a scene, right? It's not necessarily bloody, but it's very like, it's kind of dark. Like, I mean, it's just kind of sad to see this obese man rolling around the stairs, stumbling, and then just getting like poisoned and killed. Rightfully so, though. I mean, everybody hated him as a character, right? I mean, when you're seeing it happen, you're like, "Woohoo, got him!" But it's still like a really sad and gruesome scene to watch. And then, of course, we got the Triceratops. I forget what the name of the Triceratops was, but it's insert adjective here. It's Triceratops research.
I was gonna say Triceratops takes a dump, but
yeah. I think that one would have been a little bit better had they included a Dr. Harding minifigure. Because for me, there's just nothing special about this set. The only main kind of call out here is a cheaper Ford Explorer, but everybody who wanted that got it in the breakout already.
And it's interesting because there is a difference in how there's some very
Correct.
minor differences in how it's built. So It's just kind of interesting that it's another Ford Explorer, but it's not the same. I mean, they look almost identical, and I think for all intents and purposes they are. But there's some difference. I think it's in the grille itself, and then I think in the bumpers they're just a little different. So
Yeah, there's a couple slight differences, but there's just nothing special too. I mean, we've gotten like Triceratops used to be novel when there was one of them. It was like a $60 dinosaur, but now there's four or five of them. We got an Ian Malcolm figure. We got a Ellie Sattler minifigure. So I think there's just nothing kind of exclusive or different here, other than
yeah,
the big brown Triceratops and the big brown pile of Lego crap. Like there's literally a pile of crap in this set, figuratively and literally,
which is pretty novel.
which is kind of impressive that Lego even did that. To be honest, scaling's all off though. It should have been twice that. No, I'm just kidding. Um, the Velociraptor Escape was the 4+ set. It's just a 4+ set. Really, the only reason to even get this set is because of Muldoon. Another like one of my most missing minifigures was Muldoon. They came out with him and they knew what they had because they put it in this crappy set.
And I can't buy. I want him so bad, the minifigure. I can't bring myself to buy the set because I'm not a fan of the 4+ sets.
Let's get him on Bricklink.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
Yeah, the 4+ set. If you want a Velociraptor, cool. But again, this is the same Velociraptor from the Visitor Center, so it's like even less of a reason. That's why I really think like an exclusive Velociraptor to this set would have been worth it. Because I think this Velociraptor printing is really good. In general, I like the more kind of natural muted colors, and it's dark gray and brown and tan. Dark tan, which is a really good color scheme for a dinosaur. And if it was exclusive to this set, it would have been just that much better in my mind. So yeah, this was the 30th anniversary sets. Did you want to talk about the Jeep at all?
Other to say, I think it looks great. I think the one from the Brachiosaurus set is better than the Dennis Nedry set.
Okay. With the tarp over.
Yeah, I think it just the brick built tarp looks fine. The pieces that they put on it for mud, kind of, I think it's not. I like the inclusion of the brick built aspect of it. I think it's an interesting idea, and kudos for Lego for trying something new. But I think it does leave a little to be desired, and so I think I am excited. I love the idea, but the execution wise, it's just not quite there for me. So I do like the Jeep better in the Brachiosaurus.
The one thing I don't like about the Jeep in the Brachiosaurus set is that over the frame, the tarp frame up top, there's the exposed Technic axle pieces, and just put a bushing over it, and I think it would have been just a little bit more clean. But my eye gets drawn right to it, and it just looks like exposed Technic. So I think that would have been a way to clean it up.
I think it's just a little too big. I think it is 8 wide.
No, this is the same 6 wide. It's just the wheels stick out of it really far. I think part of it's 8 wide.
Okay, yeah, no, it is. You're right. It's yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the set right now. 6 wide is fine. They're just smaller vehicles, right? Like Jeeps themselves are just not huge, and
it's just a challenge with Lego and scale, though. I mean, you couldn't fit minifigures in, and like in this case, you can fit the front minifigure and then a back minifigure as a passenger.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what it would look like. I think there's been some people who've done some mocks for these that I don't think are nearly as successful. So I think it's probably the best iteration we've gotten so far. I don't know if it quite screams Jeep Wrangler the same way the Ford Explorer, very clearly screams Ford Explorer. So
I love it. I think it's really good. I think they did a good job with both vehicles. It's just challenges of Lego and scale with vehicles specifically, especially because I think we talked about it a little bit last time with Speed Champions. It's like Lego and the minifigure are not proportional to human and human objects, right? The minifigures are way too big and wide compared to regular people. So it never scales correctly. And I'm sorry, my cat is like attacking my power cords, and I'm worried they're gonna turn off my computer. So I'm just having a constant battle with my cat right now under the table.
Oh, that's fine. I agree with you, and I think I fully submit that I need to probably buy the set and see it and feel it in my hand, like, have it built before I pass any additional judgment, because this has purely been kind of from an external perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you,
um,
they're all on sale right now because they're about to retire. So
yeah,
now's a
no, I
good
need to get,
time.
yeah. But
So
yeah,
let's go
let's
ahead.
keep pressing.
Yeah, let's we're getting a little long here. Let's talk about some kind of episode notes. Very new theme in general, so we don't have a lot in terms of like, hey, what's retired, what's the value today. The Velociraptor chase has doubled in value. The
Okay.
T-Rex Rampage set is about 60% higher in value, or 160%. And then everything else has either just recently retired, like literally 2 months ago, or is still on the market and about to retire. So you can still get them for retail, which again is kind of funny that like more than half of the sets that we talked about today are still available on retail. So um, for a 25-year-old or 30-year-old movie at this point, you can still
Yeah.
buy the majority of these sets today.
Fresh theme.
So I didn't have much to talk about in terms of the kind of that value. I will say price to part though is generally bad on these sets. The best one would be 8 cents with the T-Rex Rampage, but that's got the big brick built T-Rex. It's got the big brick built gate, so there's a lot of small pieces there. As far as the Jurassic Park wave goes, the 30th anniversary wave goes, you're looking at anywhere between a 0.09 for the Dilophosaurus ambush to a 0.29 for the 4 plus Velociraptor escape set, which totals to an average of 18 cents per part. Again, when you get these dinosaurs in these sets, worse value is terms of price to part ratio. Anything you had to add here, Wes?
No, I mean, we did the episode already on price per part, so I think your breakdown with the T-Rex breakout of like if you just replace the brick built T-Rex with a molded one, I think is spot on in terms of understanding the value of these sets. And so I almost feel like with these molded dinosaurs, we have to completely shift the way we think about price per part and really look at like, I mean, I don't know how you could do that, but you almost have to remove it from the set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're 5 pieces. Sometimes they're even just one piece, if they're small enough. But they're still very large, molded, and unique pieces. And so their individual value compared to everything else, it can't be taken into account. And so I would imagine if you looked at the total value of the set and you subtracted the molded dinosaur out of it, you would probably see a very similar 10 cent, 12 cent, maybe 9 cent price per part ratio in those sets. It's just impossible for us to do that right now because we don't really know what the alternative would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So, although we could speculate, certainly. But anyways, I think people understand what they're getting into, and I think they're getting the value there. So I'm not really worried about it myself.
Yeah, and something on value here I wanted to mention is when we did our practice episode and we looked at Rock Raiders,
Yeah.
we noticed that there was like 5 minifigures characters. There was only one
Mhm.
version of every single character that came out for the entire theme, right?
Right.
And so like if you bought a set, it had one of those 5 minifigures in it, and they did not wasn't a different variation of the minifigure. There were 5 minifigures that were included in all the sets, and you might, if you could bought everything, you might have ended up with 7 of the same minifigure, exact
Yeah.
minifigure. when going through this and kind of preparing for the episode, one thing I noticed is I want you to take a guess, right? Before you don't look at the data yet, I want you to take a guess with all the characters.
Yeah.
There are, how many do you think minifigures have ever been re-released? So
Ooh.
there's I'll give you a hint. There's a total of 10 characters that are included, from Alan Grant, Dennis Nedry, Dr. Wu, Ellie Sattler, Ian Malcolm, John Hammond, Lex Murphy, Ray Arnold, Robert Muldoon, and Tim Murphy. There are a total of 27 unique minifigures. If you were to own every single one of these sets, how many minifigures would you have? So in a term, that's one way of asking the question. The other way of asking the question is, how many of these minifigures have ever been repeated?
So I think you'd have a ton of minifigures, and as I recall, just from my knowledge of the theme, like yes, you're getting a bunch of Ellie Sattlers, for example, but she's different with
Correct.
all different sets.
So
So like
different variations.
Brachiosaurus versus the Triceratops. I think she looks a little different in that one.
The difference is the face, I believe, in that one.
Yeah,
Or it's actually her shirt has mud on it in the Triceratops research one. I think that's the difference.
yep, it does. So yeah, there's just these
There's a
small
slight
differences.
difference. Yep, because it's from a
Yeah,
different scene in the movie, right? The At that point, Brachiosaurus discovery, it's like fresh in the movie. She hasn't gotten on any adventures. Triceratops research, she's dirty at that point because she's been through a little bit. It's in the mud, right?
yeah.
So how many, if you were to buy every single Jurassic Park set, how many minifigures would you have? There was 27 unique minifigures in every single one of the sets. How many minifigures would there be?
I suspect probably somewhere in like the 30s.
Lower.
Uh,
28.
okay.
There has been one, and I'm putting an asterisk on this because if you count the Bricktober set that came out for Bricktober in 2018, there was an Ian Malcolm in there. So there was
Hmm.
technically there, if you count that, there'd be 28 unique minifigures and then 29 total minifigures that were released. What character do you think had been repeated or released
I,
in multiple sets? What variation of which character?
Alan Grant.
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
think
100%.
he's the one that's doubled up enough.
Yeah, so he was in one additional set. It was the Alan Grant from this new wave. I'm sorry, not from this new wave. It was from the the Jurassic Park Velociraptor chase from 2019 or 2018, and then the T-Rex Rampage from 2019. That was the same Alan Grant. Otherwise, every single minifigure has had a unique print, a unique face, a unique hat, or something like that that differentiates themselves between the bunch. I don't know. I
They
thought that was interesting.
they definitely went all out for this theme, and I can
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it.
Which minifigure do you think was included in the most sets?
Ooh, either Ellie Sattler or Alan Grant.
Ellie Sattler, yeah. She was in 6 sets, and my guess is it's just because today's day and age with Lego, they want to have female representation in every single set, right? Or as many sets as possible. So she's kind of looking back at this movie, she's like the one female character, so they included her in
Yeah.
a lot of the sets.
Well, and she is in defense of. I don't know if there's necessarily like a DEI thing going on here. Is so much that it's like she's literally in all of these scenes. Like,
Correct.
so it
Correct.
makes sense that she is. I think whether intentional or not, more has shown up more than anyone else because um, she's just the character who's appeared
Mm-hmm.
kind of the same. So.
And then as far as other interesting tidbits, you know, looking at this, if I look at like the movie and the prevalence of characters, like I think they're right on. I think you could say John Hammond's maybe a little underrepresented. However,
Mhm.
it's kind of nice to have that Chase minifigure, right? Like he's the one that, we don't need 50 John Hammonds, right? You just really need the one. So he's been
Yeah.
in 2 sets. Robert Muldoon's been in 1 set. Um, we've got 3 sets for Lex and Tim. Dr. Wu was in 1 set. Now, asterisk there, he was in other Jurassic properties, so he is in other sets. This is not taking into consideration Dominion, where we did have repeat of a lot of these minifigures. This is only the Jurassic Park data. So with that, I think we are going to wrap it up here, unless you had anything else, Wes.
No, do we want to talk about missing sets real quick, or or just kind of the discussion about minifigures?
Well, I'll let you have that conversation. What I'll say up front is I kind of mentioned I'd like to see dioramas, more dioramas. But really for me, it's like, let's just get some Jurassic Park 2, Lost World. Like, let's just get some of that represented here.
Yeah.
I'll also say, some Jurassic Park 3 sets would also be cool, but like the big elephant in the room for me anyways is the Lost World. What about you?
I think for the Lost World, the sets that stand out, like you mentioned, the Mercedes-Benz trucks, right? The research lab on wheels was really cool. That is just ripe for Lego to build in like an 8 wide format where the side pops off and it's, articulated. And so you can, have we ever got Vince Vaughn in a Lego set? That'd be interesting. Um, Food for thought.
I
But
don't
I
think
think that
so.
would be wonderful. You remember the toys from that era where
Oh,
they
there's
had
a
all
ton. There's a
the
ton.
military
Yeah.
engine vehicles as they were doing like the dino chasing and capturing. So you could
Yeah.
see like
A lot of play
people on,
features too, right?
yeah, like you could do the like a chain on a stick with what's the headbutting dinosaur?
Pachycephalosaurus.
Did we get one of those ever?
No, we got to. Somebody just got mad at me in YouTube comments about that because I said it was my top 5 missing. Part 2 was a Packy, and he's like, "We got a Packy." I'm like, "Well, we got a Stygimoloch." So Stygimoloch was like a Packy, but it had like little horns on it,
Uh,
and so they're in the same family, but it's not a Pachycephalosaurus. It's a Stygimoloch.
I see. I see. I'm glad we made that differentiation. But I fair enough. But you that's definitely a scene. There was like the cool vehicles with the seats that came in and
Yep.
out. There was like a big engine Chinook that could be made. And then I think the scene that we really all kind of like would be, I think for the vignette or display piece, I like your idea of the truck hanging over the edge, but I also think you could do the T-Rex on the dock
Mm-hmm.
or the T-Rex on like a city street, and it's just like terrorizing things. And then we have had a speed champion Corvette Stingray now, so I think he's driving a Camaro, a red Camaro, if I'm not mistaken. But um, you could do that with the baby T-Rex in the back. You know what I mean? Like in a Speed Champion style set, that's very doable for Lego right now. So, and they don't do a lot of. There's only been 1 or 2, like.
It's a Pontiac, by the way.
It is. It is. It's a GTO, isn't it?
It's a custom S or something like that,
Okay.
according to the Google.
There's not a lot of convertibles in the Speed Champions line. So, anyways, it would be unique from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was white. It wasn't red, was it?
It's red.
It is red. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, that could be great. There was the visitor center that they were building in San Diego. That could be really
The
cool.
Coliseum.
Yeah, there's just so many like really interesting
Yeah.
features or items that they could build. The raptor chase at the end not through the tall grass, stay out of the tall grass, but through
I think that would be cool too. Yeah, like you could just have it so like you could just see their tail and like their little head like peeking out. Like boop. That's one of my favorite scenes in Jurassic World is when they like shoot the Indominus and like Owen Grady's yelling at the raptors and one of them just peeks his head out of the grass. He's like, "Hello." I don't know why it reminds me of my dog. She's always like, "What? I'm not doing anything wrong. Don't mind me. just ate this dude.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry. Just having a snack of your friend over here."
color variation kind of show the grass changing as like they've run through it or something. That
Yeah.
could be really fun. Um,
There's so much potential. I mean, even
there
like
is.
even a pteranodon like cage, like that's
Yeah,
like for me and like Jurassic Park 3, like it's kind of a cult classic at this point. There was a lot of
there's
wrong with the movie, but there's also like a lot right. And like that scene where they're crossing the bridge in the
mhm,
fog and then the pteranodon lands on it. And he's like, "Mom, is that you?" And then he's like walking over and it's just like, dunk, dunk. Love it.
there's that movie's a little tougher, right? Because certainly you have the airplane and the Spinosaurus in the beginning. Um, I think you could do the barge on the river or
Mm-hmm.
part of it, and like the Spinosaurus.
That'd be a
That would
cool
be,
vignette where you've got the Spinosaurus like tail, like kind of, or the
yeah,
Spinosaurus spine, like pushing up the water, like Jaws, kind of following the boat.
yeah. And then even, you could do like Lego's done a great job with water recently, and so you could have the like barge sitting on the water, and then like a brick built Spinosaurus would be so cool. Um, there's just so much that they could do there. I feel like to revisit some of those sets. Certainly a very silly movie, Jurassic Park 3, but very doable too. So
I've gone full circle on it. It's pretty cool status for me at this point, where it's like you
yeah,
just enjoy it for what it is, and it's brilliant. I mean, it's
fair enough.
terrible. It's
Fair enough.
terrible, but like I'm all good. So we're at an hour and 25 in this episode. So let's go
Yeah,
ahead and move forward with the conversation. I knew this was going to happen with Jurassic Park. That's why I wanted to split this between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. So like totally validated myself here. Pat on the back. Thanks, Grant. Thanks, Grinch. So let's move on to our next segment. What are we building? What are we building? So, West, why don't you let me let the viewers know? Let me know. We haven't really talked in a while because we've been so busy. Would you built anything cool recently?
no, if anything, it's deconstructing. So just
Ouch.
continuing to pack and continuing to take stuff apart. So how about you, Grinch?
It's the worst part of packing, as you get so distracted during it because you're like, oh man, this set's so cool. Like, remember this play feature? And then like you just end up like kind of like half playing with the Lego the whole time. And then you're like, I really want to build something. And then you're like, look at the time, like, well, I just spent 12 hours packing, so maybe I need to go like feed my family or something.
Yeah, I'm not ready to formally pack everything away, but how about you, dude? What do you got?
What'll happen is you'll get everything packed away and you'll get the bite and you'll be like, okay, what's small enough that I can just easily throw in a box after I build? Um, I built the new Iron Spider-Man brickhead. Um,
Okay.
didn't have a lot of time. I've been really busy. Wanted to get some Legoing in. I've still got a modular here I need to build. I need to build the pet stop or pet shop, which I'm really excited to build. Um, but I bought that used because modulars are just so expensive, and I like want to get them all. So I'm like, okay, you can either like buy them all new over the course of like 10 years, or you can buy them all used at once, like whatever. So, but when I bought it used, it's all the sets are in the same piece. So like that involves me organizing all the pieces. And with two cats, I have to do this all in one sitting. I can't just leave the pieces out on the table for the cats to destroy. So, I built something small as a brickhead, and brickheads are fun. I think we'll talk about brickheads, but my biggest issue with brickheads is like we the 50% of it, if not 75% of it, is identical build over build. So you
Yeah.
really have to build them sparingly. It's not like speed champions where it's like when you're building the base of a speed champion, sometimes it's on the prefabricated kind of base piece. Other times it's just a totally brick built base, but it's still a little bit different every single time, right? Like as you're kind of building out the sides of the doors, it's a different technique. The front of it's like maybe the whole front of it's snot, maybe part of it's, maybe part of it's
Mm,
snot. In this case, it's like you build the internal brickhead, and then it's like the colors might change on the outside, but you
right.
build the internal brickhead, and then like you put on a different accessory, or you put on a weird backpack on the back, or the hair is different. But otherwise, it's the same exact build. So like for me, I like them; they look cool, but like it's hard to build like the 5 packs of brickheads that they have. So at times, for me at least, are really annoying to build because it's like I've built this 4 times now.
They can get a little tedious. So
But yeah, so I think that's kind of what we're building. We're going to move on to our next segment, our final segment, brick mail. We finally have some brick mail. So this brick mail segment is where we kind of listen to the listeners, get some feedback from the listeners, share their thoughts on here. So if you have any thoughts about dinosaurs and Jurassic Park, which I know like some people out there do, let us know. Write us. Leave a comment on YouTube, and we'll highlight it on the show. But this first brick mail piece of the podcast ever. So Calvin W2104 gets that official title. If you join the Pog Discord, I'll make a special title card for you. But he said love, or he or she said love the conversation, guys. Hope to see more. So thank you, Calvin, for the feedback. Appreciate the thoughts, and you'll definitely see more. I think we're really enjoying doing this, and appreciate you reaching out.
Shout out to Calvin W2104. Yeah.
So, and that's a wrap of another episode of AFOLs Welcome. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this show. If you would like to write the podcast, please email us at afolswelcome@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at AFOLsWelcome. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
See you later, guys.